In the early hours of a busy day at Brown University, tragedy struck in a way no one could have imagined. A mass shooting left 2 dead and several others injured, shaking the heart of one of the nation's most respected institutions. As law enforcement rushed to the scene, a campus once known for its academic prestige and safety now found itself at the center of a horrific crime. What was meant to be another routine day at an Ivy League school turned into a nightmare, one that left the entire community in shock and disbelief. This wasn't just a random act of violence. It was a targeted attack that left innocent lives lost and a campus community shattered. The peaceful academic environment at Brown University, known for its rigorous intellectual pursuits and vibrant student life, was abruptly shattered as shots rang out. In an instant, 2 victims were dead, their lives taken far too soon, while several others were left wounded and traumatized. Law enforcement responded swiftly, but the emotional scars of this violent attack would linger far longer. This incident raised more than just concerns about the immediate tragedy. It sparked important questions about campus security, the increasing prevalence of gun violence, and the safety of educational institutions across the nation. Brown University, once thought to be a safe haven for intellectuals and young minds, was now grappling with the same violence that has plagued so many other places across the United States. How does something like this happen at an esteemed university? How did a place known for its prestige and safety become the site of such unimaginable tragedy? What factors contributed to this horrifying act of violence? And how can something like this be prevented in the future? Is campus security truly enough? Or is it time to rethink the way we protect our schools? And perhaps the most unsettling question, what does this say about the increasing trend of violence in places once thought to be free from such horrors? The shooting at Brown University has left a deep wound that will take time to heal, but it also serves as a sobering reminder of the growing threats facing our educational institutions. The question remains, what can be done to prevent future tragedies like this from happening again? If you're new to Real Crime Saga, make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below. What do you think needs to change to make universities safer from incidents like this? The mass shooting at Brown University unfolded in the early hours of the day, a time when students and staff were beginning their usual routines. The campus was bustling with life, students making their way to classes, staff heading to their offices, and the usual hum of a university campus. But suddenly, gunshots rang out, shattering the peaceful morning atmosphere and sending waves of panic through the community. In the moments after the first shots were fired, the campus descended into chaos. Witnesses described the scene as surreal. Students and faculty alike scrambled for cover, unsure of where the danger was coming from. The panic was palpable as people rushed to find shelter or flee the area, unsure if they were in the direct line of fire. The usual calm of Brown University was replaced by screams, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of fear. As the campus security was notified, law enforcement teams arrived at the scene within minutes. Police officers moved swiftly to secure the area, locking down the campus and working to locate the shooter. As they assessed the situation, it became clear that this was not a random act of violence. The shooting appeared to be a targeted attack, and law enforcement quickly determined that the shooter had a specific intent. The shooter, armed with firearms, went on a rampage through a public area of the campus, firing indiscriminately at those in his path. The speed and intensity of the attack suggested it was highly planned, as the shooter seemed to move with purpose, targeting certain individuals while evading capture. After wreaking havoc for several minutes, the shooter fled the scene, disappearing into the nearby streets and sparking a massive manhunt. The 2 victims of the attack, tragically, were a student and a staff member. Their identities were later revealed to be members of the university community who were well-liked and respected by those around them. Their deaths were a blow not only to their families, but to the entire Brown University family. The shock of losing 2 members of the campus in such a violent, senseless manner left the community reeling. The others who were injured during the attack were rushed to nearby hospitals for treatment. Some were in critical condition with life-threatening injuries, while others sustained wounds that though serious, were less severe. The trauma of being caught in such a horrific event would stay with them for much longer than the physical scars. This attack, though brief in duration, shattered the sense of safety that Brown University once prided itself on. For a place known for its calm, intellectual pursuits, this sudden eruption of violence left everyone questioning how something so horrific could happen in a space that should have been safe. The timeline of the incident, the shooter's targeted actions, and the devastating loss of life have shaken the entire campus. As the investigation unfolded, law enforcement worked tirelessly to piece together the details of what led to such a tragic and violent day. Once the shooting was reported, law enforcement responded swiftly, mobilizing resources from multiple agencies to secure Brown University and prevent any further loss of life. SWAT teams, campus security officers, and local police forces worked in unison, rapidly setting up perimeters around the campus and conducting searches to locate the suspect. The campus, which had been thrown into chaos, was quickly placed under lockdown. Faculty, students, and staff were instructed to shelter in place, while law enforcement focused on containing the situation and ensuring that no further attacks would occur. The urgency of the response was clear. Law enforcement had to act fast to neutralize the threat. With the shooter still on the loose, the campus was a volatile scene, and officers worked around the clock to gather intelligence, secure evidence, and prevent any other civilians from becoming victims. As campus lockdowns were enacted, law enforcement moved carefully through the buildings, checking rooms, halls, and open areas. Every minute mattered, as the possibility of the shooter hiding or fleeing into the surrounding areas loomed large. Within hours of the attack, authorities had already tracked down a person of interest connected to the shooting. Through a combination of witness statements, surveillance footage, and quick investigative work, it became clear that this was no random act of violence. The shooter's movements, captured on multiple security cameras, showed a methodical pattern, suggesting that he had come to the campus with a specific purpose in mind. This was a targeted attack, not an impulsive act of rage or a random shooting. The evidence pointed to the fact that the shooter had deliberately sought out certain individuals, likely with a personal connection to his grievances, raising immediate concerns about his motivations. As law enforcement narrowed down their list of suspects, they were able to identify the individual believed to be responsible for the attack. The suspect was taken into custody and brought in for questioning. The arrest came as a relief to the shaken campus. But the deeper question remained: what drove this person to commit such a horrific act? Was this the result of a personal vendetta, or were there deeper, more complex motivations at play? In the days that followed, investigators began to sift through the evidence, seeking answers to these pressing questions. They gathered surveillance footage from nearby cameras, conducted interviews with witnesses, and analyzed the crime scene for any forensic evidence that could shed light on the shooter's motivations. What they found was troubling. The suspect's social media profiles, messages, and interactions revealed signs of anger and grievances, which may have been festering for a long time. There were troubling posts suggesting mental health issues, frustration with certain aspects of his life, and a growing sense of isolation. The shooter's history, which law enforcement was now piecing together, showed a person who had struggled with deep personal issues that ultimately led him down a path of violence. As investigators dug deeper, it became clear that the shooting wasn't just a spontaneous outburst. It had been planned, and the attack had specific targets in mind. Law enforcement began to understand that this act of violence, though horrific, was part of a longer story, a story of deep, unresolved emotions, unaddressed personal issues, and a failure to seek help before it was too late. As investigators delved deeper into the shooting, the question on everyone's mind was clear: what led the suspect to commit such a horrific act of violence? While the full details of the shooting and its motive are still under investigation, early reports point to a combination of personal grievances and mental health issues as potential driving factors. Law enforcement and university officials have suggested that the shooter was not just lashing out randomly, but had specific targets in mind. These were individuals with whom he had conflicts, conflicts that seem to have built up over time and ultimately exploded in violence. The idea that the shooting was targeted is supported by the shooter's history and behavior in the days leading up to the attack. Investigators discovered evidence that suggested the shooter had long-standing personal issues that had been unresolved and perhaps even ignored by both the individual and those around him. His social media posts, private messages, and interviews with those who knew him revealed signs of anger, resentment, and a growing sense of isolation. These emotional struggles, paired with unresolved mental health challenges, seem to have created a perfect storm, one that tragically culminated in violence. As troubling as these early findings were, they also highlighted a broader issue that many institutions, including Brown University, are now forced to confront. Mental health has become an increasingly urgent concern at universities across the nation, as the pressures of academic life, social isolation, and personal challenges continue to build for students and staff alike. Campus shootings and other violent incidents tied to mental health issues have sparked a nationwide conversation about the adequacy of mental health resources on university campuses. In many cases, universities offer limited access to counseling services, and students often report long wait times or inadequate support when it comes to seeking help for mental health crises. The rise in violent incidents at schools and universities, including shootings, has led many to ask, are universities doing enough to provide the support and resources students need to prevent these kinds of tragedies? This incident at Brown University is no exception. It underscores the growing concern that mental health support systems on campuses across the country may not be enough to address the increasing number of students facing emotional turmoil. As more and more young people struggle with anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges, universities may be falling short when it comes to offering timely, adequate help. In response to the shooting, Brown University released a statement expressing their profound sorrow over the loss of life and the violence that occurred on their campus. The university vowed to work closely with law enforcement to understand the full scope of the crime and ensure justice for the victims. At the same time, Brown emphasized their commitment to the mental health and well-being of their community, announcing a series of new initiatives aimed at improving mental health resources for both students and staff. These initiatives would include expanding counseling services, increasing awareness of mental health issues, and providing more support systems for those struggling with mental health challenges. The university also promised to reevaluate its existing protocols and campus safety measures to prevent future tragedies. While these responses are necessary, the question remains, is it enough? Can universities, including Brown, create a culture that not only recognizes the importance of mental health, but actively supports students before they reach a breaking point? Or will tragedies like this one continue to occur, no matter how much universities try to intervene? The aftermath of the mass shooting at Brown University left an indelible mark on the campus community. In the hours and days following the tragedy, students, faculty members, and staff were left to grapple with the reality of the violence that had shattered their once peaceful academic environment. Memorials were held for the victims, and vigils were organized to honor their lives and the impact they had on the community. The shooting disrupted the normal flow of university life, as the campus was left reeling from the shock of losing two members of its community in such a senseless act. For many students, parents, and faculty members, the tragedy raised an immediate and unsettling question. Is this campus still safe? Brown University, known for its rich academic history and intellectual environment, was suddenly thrust into a reality no one had expected. The very places where students once felt secure, libraries, cafes, classrooms, became symbols of a new era where safety could no longer be assumed. As the police continued their investigation and secured the area, parts of the campus remained under lockdown until the suspect was taken into custody, making it clear that no one was immune to the growing threat of violence, even in the most prestigious educational institutions. The reaction to the shooting wasn't confined to the campus alone. It rippled through the nation. Public reaction was a mix of grief, anger, and fear. Families across the country expressed their sorrow, while others voiced their frustration and concern. Many were left asking the same question: how could this happen at a place as revered as Brown University? The attack forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about the increasing prevalence of gun violence, the state of mental health resources at universities, and the safety of educational environments that were once thought to be secure. In the wake of the shooting, a national conversation was reignited about issues that have long plagued society but have never felt more urgent. The tragedy prompted a renewed debate on gun control, mental health, and campus security. In political circles, calls for stricter gun control measures grew louder, with many arguing that stronger regulations could prevent future shootings from occurring. In addition to this, mental health programs at universities became a central point of discussion. Lawmakers across the U.S. began to question whether current systems were sufficient to address the rising number of students struggling with emotional distress, depression, and other mental health issues. The idea that many shootings in schools, universities, and public spaces were linked to unaddressed mental health crises prompted calls for more investment in services to help those who might otherwise slip through the cracks. The political debate was intense, with legislators from both sides of the aisle weighing in on the tragedy. Some pushed for tougher penalties for gun crimes and more regulation on the sale and distribution of firearms, while others focused on strengthening security measures and improving mental health resources within educational institutions. There is also widespread recognition of the need for preventative measures, not just reactive ones. What happened at Brown University wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger pattern of violence that has plagued many campuses across the nation. The question now was, what can be done to ensure this doesn't happen again? In the midst of the heartbreak and the political fallout, there was one undeniable truth. The community, both at Brown and across the country, had been forever changed. The attack left more than just physical wounds. It left emotional scars that would take a long time to heal. For the students and faculty at Brown University, and for universities across the U.S., the fight for campus safety had only just begun. The mass shooting at Brown University serves as a stark reminder of how quickly a place of learning and safety can be transformed into a scene of violence and tragedy. What was once a peaceful campus, known for its academic excellence and intellectual pursuits, became the backdrop for a devastating attack that left 2 people dead and several others wounded. As the community mourns the loss of innocent lives and tries to make sense of the horror that unfolded, the question remains: how do we prevent such attacks from happening again? How do we protect students and staff from the ever-present threat of violence that now seems to be creeping into the very institutions we trust to nurture and educate the next generation? This tragedy has forced us to face some difficult and uncomfortable truths. Gun violence on campuses is no longer an isolated incident. It's becoming an alarming trend. The question that hangs in the air is, what can be done to stop this from happening again? What measures should universities take to ensure the safety of their students and staff? Is the answer stricter gun control laws, or is there something deeper, more systemic at play that needs to be addressed? Mental health plays a central role in many of these tragedies. What we know is that violence, especially mass shootings, is often a symptom of something more profound: a breakdown in mental health, a failure to provide support for individuals struggling with deep emotional or psychological pain. How can we address this? How can we ensure that universities have the proper resources to support students, staff, and faculty facing mental health crises before they escalate into violence? And are we doing enough to address the underlying causes of violence? Or are we simply responding after the fact? As we reflect on the events that occurred on that fateful day at Brown University, it's clear that the issue of campus violence is complex. It's not just about law enforcement or tightening gun control laws, though those measures are certainly part of the conversation. It's about mental health support, community building, and preventative measures. We need to create environments where individuals don't feel isolated or invisible, where they feel supported and heard before they reach the point of despair or violence. What do you think can be done to stop campus violence? Should universities focus more on mental health support? Do you think stricter gun control laws could have prevented this incident? Or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to Real Crime Saga for more true crime stories and updates on how communities around the world are dealing with violence and safety. Click the notification bell to stay updated on our next episode, where we'll delve into another shocking crime story. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.